Chapter 8. Mrs. Guida was back. I'll be moving in this afternoon, Parvana, she said. You can help me. Parvana wanted to get back to her blanket, but helping Mrs. Guida would be another change in routine, so that was fine with her. Besides, as long as Mrs. Guida was around, Mother seemed like her old self. Mrs. Guida and I are going to work together, Mother announced. We are going to start a magazine. So we'll all have our jobs to do. Nuria will look after the little ones. Your mother and I will work on our project, and you will go out to work, Mrs. Guida declared, as though she were assigning positions on the hockey field. We all will all pull together. Parvana showed them the money she earned. Wonderful, Mother said. I knew you could do it. Father would have made much more, Nuria said, then bit her lip, as if she were attempting to bite back her words. Parvana wasn't too good a move to be bothered. After tea and Nan After tea and Nan for lunch, Parvana headed out with Mrs. Guida to get her belongings. Mrs. Guida wore the burqa, of course, but she had such a distinctive way of walking that Parvana was sure she could pick her out of a whole marketplace of women wearing burqas. She walked, walked as though she were rounding up children who she walked as though she were rounding up children who were dawdling after class. She walked swiftly, head up and shoulders back, just to be safe, though Parvana stayed close to her. The Taliban don't usually bother women out alone with small children, Mrs. Wira was saying, although you can't be certain of that. Fortunately, 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 I can probably outrun any of the soldiers, outfight them too, if they tangle with me. I've handled many a teenage boy in my teaching years. There wasn't one I could reduce to tears with a good lecture. I saw a Talib cry this morning, Parvana said, but her words were lost in the whoosh of air as they moved quickly through the streets. Mrs. Wira had been living with her grandchild in a room even smaller than Parvana's. It was in the basement of a ruined building. We are the last of the Wiras, she said. The bombs took some, the war took others, and pneumonia took the rest. Parvana didn't know what to say. Mrs. Wira did not sound as though she was looking for sympathy. We have to loan of a Karachi for the afternoon, Mrs. Wira said. The owner needs back this evening to go to work, but we'll manage it all splendidly in one trip, won't we? Mrs. Wira had lost a lot of things too in bombing raids. What the bombs didn't get, the bandits did. Makes it easier to move, too, doesn't it? Parvana loaded a few quilts and cooking things onto the Karachi. Mrs. Guida had everything packed and ready. Here's something they didn't get. She took a medal on a bright ribbon out of a box. I won this in an athletics competition. It means I was the fastest woman runner in all of Afghanistan. The sun caught the gleaming gold on the medal. I have other medals too, Mrs. Wira said. Some have been lost, but some I still have. She sighed a little, then caught herself. Enough recess. Back to work. By the end of the afternoon, Mrs. Wira had been moved in and the Karachi had been returned. Parvana was too wound up from the day's activities to sit still. I'll get some water, she offered. You offering to do something? Nuria asked. Are you feeling well? Parvana ignored her. Mother, can I take Miriam to the tap with me? Yes, yes, yes. Miriam jumped up and down. I want to go with Parvana. Mother hesitated. Let her go, Mrs. Weir advised. Parvana's a boy now. Miriam will be safe. Mother relented, but first she spoke to Miriam. What do you call Parvana when you are outside? Kasim. Good. And who is Kasim? My cousin. Very good. Remember that and do what Parvana says. Stay right with her. Do you promise? Miriam promised. She ran to put on her sandals. They are too tight. She started to cry. She hasn't been outside in over a year. Mother explained to Mrs. Guira, of course, her feet have grown. Bring them to me and dry your tears. Mrs. Guira told Miriam. The sandals were plastic, all in one piece. This will do for Ali soon. So I won't cut them. For today, we'll wrap your feet in cloth. Parvana will buy your proper sandals tomorrow. She should be out in the sunshine every day, she said to Mother. But never mind. Now that I'm here, we'll soon have this family wiped into shape. She tied several layers of cloth around the child's feet. The skin will be tender if she hasn't been outside in such long time. Then told Parvana, mind how you go. I'm not sure about this, Mother began, but Parvana and her sister hurried out before she could stop them. Fetching water took a very long time. Miriam had seen nothing but the four walls of the room for almost a year and a half. Everything outside the door was new to her. Her muscles were not used to the most basic exercise. Parvana had to help her up and down the steps as carefully as she had to help father. This is the tap, she said to her sister as soon as they arrived. Parvana had walked a little ahead to smooth a pathway free of stones. She turned on the tap so that the water gushed out. Miriam laughed. She stuck in a hand in the flow, then snatched it back as the cool water touched her skin. She looked at Parvana, eyes wide open. Parvana helped her to do it again. This time she let the water flow over her. Don't swallow any, Parvana warned, then showed her how to splash her face with water. Miriam copied her, getting more water on her clothes than on her face. But at least she had a good time. One trip was enough for Miriam that first time. The next day, Parvana took Miriam's sandals to the market and used them as a guide to get a bigger pair. She found some used ones that a man was selling along the street. Every day after that, Miriam went to the water tap with Parvana, and bit by a bit, she started to get stronger. The days began to fall into a pattern. Parvana went out to the market early every morning, returned home for lunch, then went back to the market in the afternoon. I could stay out there if there was a latrine I could use in the market, she said. I would want you to come home at midday anyway, Mother said. I want to know that you are all right. One day, after she had been working for a week, Parvana had an idea. Mother, I'm seen as a boy, right? That's the idea, Mother said. Then I could be your escort. Parvana said. I could be Nuria's escort too, and you could both get outside sometimes. Parvana was excited about this. If Nuria got some exercise, maybe she wouldn't be so grumpy. Of course, she wouldn't get much fresh air under under the burqa, but at least it would be a change. Excellent idea, Mrs. Guira said. I don't want you as my escort, Nuria said, but Mother stopped her from saying any more. Nuria, Ali should go outside. Parvana is able to manage fine with Miriam, but Ali screamed so much. You will have to hold on to him. You should get out sometimes too, Fatana, Mrs. Wira said to Mother. Mother didn't answer. For Ali's sake, Nuria went along with the idea. Every day after lunch, Parvana, Nuria, Ali, and Miriam went outside for an hour. Ali had been only a few months old when the Taliban came. All he really knew was the little room that had been shut up in for a year and a half. Nuria had not been outside either in all that time. They would walk around the neighborhood until their legs got tired. Then they would sit in the sunshine. When there was no one around, Parvana would keep watch and Nuria would flit up her burqa to let her sun pour down on her face. I'd forgotten how good this feels, she said, when there was no line up at the water tap. Nuria would watch the little ones right there and save Parvana having to carry that water. Sometimes Mrs. Wira was with them with her grandchild, and all three children were washed at the same time. Business had good days and bad days. Sometimes Parvana would sit for hours without a customer. She made less money than her father had, but the family was eating, even though most days they ate just naan and tea. At the children seems livelier than they had in a long time. The daily sun and fresh air were doing them a lot of good. Although Nuria said they were harder to look after now in the room. They had more energy and always wanted to go outside, which they couldn't do when Parvana was out at work. At the end of each day, Parvana handed over all the money she'd made. Sometimes Mother asked her to buy a naan or something else on the way home. Sometimes, the times Parvana liked best, Mother would come with her to the market to shop for the family. Mrs. Wira's arguments had finally worn her down. Parvana liked having her mother all to herself, even though they didn't talk about anything other than how much cooking oil to buy, or whether they could afford soap that week. Parvana loved being in the market. She loved watching people move along the streets, loved hearing snatches of conversation that reached her ears, loved reading the letters people brought her. She still missed her father, but as the weeks went by, she began to get used to him being gone. Being gone. It helped that she was so busy now. The family didn't talk about him, but she heard Mother and Nuria crying sometimes. Once, Miriam had a nightmare and woke up calling for father. It took Mother a long time to get her back to sleep. Then, one afternoon, Parvana saw her father in the market. He was walking away from her, but Parvana was sure it was him. Father, she called out, springing off her blanket and rushing after him. Father, I'm here. She ran into the crowd, pushing people out of her way, until she finally reached her father and threw her arms around him. Father, you are safe. They let you out of prison. Who are you, boy? Parvana looked up into the strange face. She backed away. I thought you were my father, she said, tears falling down her face. The man put his hand on her shoulder. You seem like a fine boy. I'm sorry, I'm not your father. He paused, then said in a lower voice, Your father is in prison? Parvana nodded. People are released from prison sometimes. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. The man went on his way into the market, and Parvana went back to her blanket. One afternoon, Parvana was about to shake out her blanket before going home when she noticed a spot of color on the gray wool. She bent down to pick it up. It was a small square of embroidered embroidered cloth, no more than 2 inches long and an inch wide. Parvana had never seen it before. As she wondered where it had come from, her eyes went up to the blanked out window where she thought she had seen a flicker of movement a few weeks before. There was no movement now. The wind must have carried the little piece of embroidery to her blanket, although it hadn't been a very